Hey, salam alaikum.
Assalamu
Salam
alaikum.
alaikum.
Alaikum Martin as well.
Alhamdulillah.
Bear me 2 seconds. My mum's just come in.
Oh, all right.
Put some liveliness into this Ramadan. Everyone's like, oh, I want a drink. No, carry on.
Yeah, I do need to wake myself up a bit. Sleepy, thirsty. But I explained a bit about the stream today. So we are doing a stream with a few of us new Muslims on here. We have Abdullah there, who we'll be introducing you to, who'll be back in a second, brother from Chicago who converted in February. And I will say later on we have special guests coming on along with Hamza, so I wouldn't go anywhere.
Wait till the end.
It's going to be a special stream, this one. So
it's almost like it was meant to be.
With a warm-up act.
Yeah.
As people are sitting down.
3 Stooges at the moment. Where am I going?
Yeah, so wait till maybe wait till Abdullah. So when Abdullah comes back, we'll hear a bit on his story, because obviously we aren't aware. We had a bit of a discussion beforehand, perhaps. So this stream's about life post Shahada. We were sort of discussing maybe main parts of our life that have changed since converting to Islam. I think we often speak a lot about our story to Islam, and then I think we were talking about after. So who wants to go first?
I think Martin should go first, because I'm reading the comments.
I'm sorting something for his mother. 2 seconds. We're so prepared for this one.
Why don't you start, Jordan?
All right. I'll go first. So since my Shahada, what has changed? So it's a tough one to answer in whole, isn't it? Because essentially, to be honest, for me, my life changed even before I took my Shahada. I actually believe I had accepted Islam a few weeks before my Shahada, but there were various things that I was just kicking against and saying, no, I can't do it. So the actual Shahada itself, whilst it was obviously, the official kind of submission, I'd already accepted the Prophet, peace be upon him, and Allah long before that. So, but in terms of once I'd taken the Shahada, becoming Muslim isn't suddenly like all of a sudden, you're this brand new person that wakes up. And I think you kind of expect that. I think you kind of expect it. But for me, I was kind of like, hang on a minute, I'm still the same. I'm clearly, you start to pray, and you clearly start to build a relationship with Allah, which you've never had before, which is obviously something very special. And for me, that took a while. It wasn't something that just came the next day all of a sudden, because clearly you're not really. I wasn't really able to pray properly yet, and you're learning Fatiha, and it all seems very unnatural to start with. But in terms of, I think for me, I would say overnight perception-wise, on things perhaps like women, things like alcohol, that those things I was able to kind of change my perception straight away. But there are other things that I still kind of had, and I wouldn't say weaknesses, but still had my challenges for. Let me try and think of the main thing, because there's so many things that do change. The actual main thing that I think
so much, isn't it? So many little tiny things that build up to this new character.
Yeah, and like I said, it's not an overnight process, is it? I think one thing I'll say when I did convert to Islam is that I was like a kid in a candy shop. I suddenly wanted to look into all this knowledge as opposed to just grounding myself, and I think it took me probably nearly a year to realize that I need to just stick to the basics. You can often get caught into going into all sorts of directions. So, learning the 99 names of Allah, Tawheed, that was really where I started to settle down and sort of lay my mark and build my foundations from there. I think when I initially converted, it was very much a kid in a candy store trying to grab as much as possible. Yeah, I think look, the main thing has to be, I think for me, is no longer fearing death. You're building a relationship with Allah, and all of a sudden, other things around you that you used to worry about become very insignificant. So when I talk about perspective, when you're not Muslim, or even maybe if you're not religious, you worry about very menial things. Material things were very important to me. So I was really defined by the car I drove, the house I had. I think converting to Islam changed that. All of a sudden, that stuff becomes sort of back burner. I think for me, that's the main thing. Assalamu alaikum, Abdullah.
Yeah, so my story is how my journey to Islam was. I grew up in a Christian family home, so that was pretty much what I was raised on. because when I was younger, I went to school from pre-K all the way to fourth grade in a Christian school. So I learned about the Bible. I learned about the songs, seen the movies. I know the Bible very well, you know, to just say. My dad took us to church. Like growing up, I felt like he was trying to force that onto us. So it really like pushed me away. So when I got expelled from fourth grade and went to a public school in Chicago, I got introduced to the streets. So when I was in the streets, I just forgot about God. I forgot about all of that. I wanted to live that street life and be a part of that. I've done some things that I'm not very proud of in my life. But so soon as I was 21, I moved to South Dakota, changed my life, seeing my uncle and my dad and seeing how, you know, Christianity made them change and how they were evil men and now they're good and they're doing everything. So that really inspired me, not really looking into anything, but just being inspired by that. So I would get back into the Bible scene and try to do that. But then I was working and doing my own thing in construction. So when when that started slowing down, I started getting really depressed and stressed out. There was no money, there was no work. So I started like looking back into trying to get into the streets. But then I've met this guy from New York, and he told me about Islam, and I was like, I'm like, bro, you're Puerto Rican and black. How are you? How are you Muslim? I thought they were all Arabs. So I was very ignorant to it. I was very ignorant to Islam. So he taught me. He showed me some videos, and I'm like, yo, this is the same thing basically. Like they're so similar, but like there's points where they differ. But like in that beginning stage of me first learning about Islam, like I was like, whoa, like how do they believe in Jesus but don't believe that he's God? And this and that. And then I started thinking, I started researching, but then my mom and my dad were getting mad at me um, that I was looking that up and I was asking them questions. So I left it alone for a while. I started trying to get back into the streets. So it came down to Islam, the streets, and Christianity. So I would go and research and research and research. And I'll be in my room every night crying and begging God to like show me the way, like what's the real way. And then I just woke up one day, started asking questions. I started asking pastor questions. I started asking Christians that I know questions that they couldn't answer. And then I came across EF Dawa, their channel, and I seen how they were having conversations with different Christians, Buddhism, atheists, agnostics, everybody, you know. So I got really intrigued in watching EF Dawa and SC Dawa and all them. And I just kept on like reading it and going back to the Bible and see if those verses they're saying are really what they're saying, see if it's really true. And then I just became convinced and I did my Shahada. And I never knew, like, you know, it would be such a beautiful experience going to the mosque and then asking to do my Shahada and then being embraced by everybody, hugging, smiling. They're so happy that I did it. And it's like it's just been a life-changing experience for me. So it made me look at the world different. It made me it made me want to go and serve God and like in everything I do, like I have to learn everything I have to learn before it's my time. You know, that's how I felt when I first started like really getting intrigued into Islam. And now, ever since I did my Shahada, that's like it's strictly just Islam. I watch Islam videos. I read articles. I read the Quran. I read a bunch of stuff just so I can learn and soak it up as much as I can. Well, I try to pace myself because you can't learn everything overnight, you know. But and to have EF Dawa as somebody who I can go and ask questions to, and then they answer every question I ask. Ben knows.
Yeah.
So
Alhamdulillah, they're good questions that you ask,
Yeah.
and they're really genuine as well. You really want to do the right thing, mashallah. How long has it been now? How long have you been Muslim?
Roughly like 2 months. I did my Shahada February 21st, 2020. So it's been a great journey. It's been a great journey.
Interesting
Brand new
your story
baby.
is, and it's a common that I hear. Look, most people I hear, Islam is an intellectual decision, and it sounds like you did the research as well. But in all of our stories, there's that one person, and you mentioned somebody that perhaps was quite important at the beginning of your journey, maybe a Muslim who maybe showed you the way or was a good example. And I feel like we all have that, and I feel like that's a real message to people that our behavior is so important because, obviously Islam is an intellectual decision, but if your behavior could turn somebody away from Islam early on, if we are presenting ourselves well as Muslims, then more people are going to be interested in looking into it, I would say.
Yes. Inshallah. That's why I go and every time I be posting my statuses on Facebook, my family, since they're like really big in Christianity, they try to go back and forth with me. But it's
how have your family taken your conversion then?
At first they weren't really too happy with it. They were like really shocked that I would convert to Islam. Like they never expected it. But gradually they're starting to like open up more and listen to me, because in the beginning I was like since how passionate you are that you found something, and then you're like, whoa,
you want to save the world.
Yeah. And then I had this whole life thinking Christianity and the Bible was the way, like that's the way, but then to like actually do the research and actually look into it, because I would have never learned Islam if it wasn't for Allah sending my friend to me and showing me Islam, because I would have always thought that it would have been the way, because most people, they think that's the way because they don't look into it. They just hear what the pastor says, and then they get that motivation and they get that inspiration from what they're saying. But then I look at it like, of course they're supposed to say that. Of course they're supposed to say nice things. And of course you're going to feel like that. Even if somebody watches a motivational video, they're going to feel inspired, So you have to go and look at the resources and see what you're looking at is true. Because I thought about it like, I could be a good person, a righteous person, and live my life, good and doing things that are good, doing good deeds, charity, all that. But the worst sin that I did was believing that Jesus is God, and then all of that is for nothing, So I just couldn't do that. So I had to do the research day and night to finally like come to the realization that Islam is the straight path, the real path that God wants us all to follow. It got tons of guidance, like everything that you would need to live, like it's right there in the Quran.
I find that's the big difference, because I come from a Christian background as well. Probably not as strict as yours by the sounds of it. But if you ask the question in Christianity, it would be just believe. You have to believe. You have to have faith. Whereas in Islam, you can ask any question and somebody will come back with a perfect answer. There's never any, you just got to believe. You just got to have faith. This is why we do it. This is the answer. And here's the hadith, or here's something in the Quran, and you're just like, subhanAllah, like you can't argue with it. Like,
right. Yes.
It's crazy. Like you come from blind faith to
having your eyes open for the first time.
Exactly.
Yeah, your story is very inspirational, Abdullah. May Allah make it easy. Very inspirational.
I mean, it's amazing how everyone's experience is different, from their journey to accepting Islam to afterwards. Because like you, Abdullah, you've almost had this big like wave of, I've got to do this. This is the path. And for me, it was very gradual. So yeah, alhamdulillah, it's amazing how Allah guides in different ways. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, you're right. Because I think there's a misconception, or certainly something that I hear. I don't know if it's the same in America, but someone who converts to Islam is seen as someone maybe who's had something tough going on. They've had to grab on to Islam. They've had to fix their life. They've had depression, been to jail is a common one. But you look at me, even on the panel, different people, that we have some people that are highly educated, some people that aren't educated, some people all from different nations. And so it really example where Islam is for everybody. But like I said, I feel, do you guys feel that as well? There's that misconception that
No, I feel like it's for everybody. I feel like the world would be such a better place if everybody would actually look and read the Quran and actually gain knowledge from a genuine source, because then they go off and try to look at different sources, and those sources might not be 100% Islam. They might be half Islam, half anti-Islam, and then you won't get that full Islam experience unless you go to someone that's genuine, that's going to teach you the right Islam.
You said something interesting, Abdullah, in your story as well. I think you said somebody, was it half Jamaican, half?
He's half black, West Indian and Puerto Rican, Spanish.
And Puerto Rican. And so in your mind, it was kind of like, how can you be a Muslim? So clearly, I mean, and that's same in my story. So for me, for example, seeing Hamza, seeing a guy, that with my, from my background, my culture, representing Islam, something really like a trigger. Because obviously we almost grow up to believe that Islam is for, people from a certain country or people from a certain background. And it's, like I said, that part of your story also resonated with me.
Yeah. Coming from where I come from, I thought the same. It's going to sound controversial, but I thought Islam was the brown man's culture, religion. Sorry, and I used to think that until quite an old age. To be honest, I'm not that old, guys. Honestly, I used to think that until I started looking into it, that it was never something that a white person or an American or an African or somebody else could pick.
And that's so common, isn't it? It's so common that I think that generally most people probably in this country, if you told them about Islam, not an option for them. If they had a religion, it has to be Christianity. Yeah. And it's interesting how we naturally believe that due to the patch of land we're born on, that should be your truth. Whereas obviously in Islam, we believe it's sent to mankind. But it's definitely, I think, from my perspective, one of the key parts of dawah in a country like this is making people realize that Islam is actually an option for them. It's not only for the Middle East. It's not only for Pakistan. It's not only, it's for everybody.
Yeah, it is. Yes.
Inshallah. So who wanted to go? We were talking about, Jazakallah khair for your donation. So we're talking about how our lives change after Shahada. Did you want to go, Martin, or?
Yeah, my life changed from the social aspect, I suppose. Like I used to go to the pub with the boys after work, or I'd go to the casino, or all those sort of haram places, as we know now. So it was adapting my life around that. So not going out, not being in those situations, but then seeing life in a different way as well. So obviously there's the physical change there, as in not going out to those places, but then the mental change of knowing that there's more to this life. Like I was always chasing the dunya. I was always chasing the nice watch, the nice car. I wanted this, I wanted that. And then suddenly you go in, yeah, it'd be nice to have a nice car, but I don't need one. There's more to life. Like I could put my money elsewhere. I could invest it in this. So it was that complete flip on, like, it literally flipped on his head. Like, yeah, I still like nice cars. I still like nice watches, whatever. We all do. Like, but I know it's not my goal. That's not what I'm going to work for every day. I'm going to work just to earn some money so I can pay my bills, and I can become a better Muslim, rather than before I was going to work to get that money so I could chase the dunya, chase all the material stuff in this world. Mm-hmm. So that's the biggest change for me, was I don't chase the material stuff anymore. Yeah. I realized there's a bigger goal to all this.
Yeah. Mashallah. Ben, was there something in your life that completely sort of changed, or
what hasn't changed? So in a serious note, I think it's a really deep question, and I don't want to ramble too much, because that's what I do. So I mean, the biggest thing I think is that the attitude and mental shift, a bit like Martin's, like, and yours actually, Jordan. It's all about the dunya now. Assalamu alaikum, Hamza. Oh, he's gone. He's on the green screen. He's not. Is it work? No.
When you're ready, thumbs up.
It's a mental shift, basically, of exactly that. I mean, now anything that happens to me in life, I know is meant to be, it's what given to me, and it's a test as well, the good and the bad. So it's the more you kind of get closer to Allah, is you gain a bigger taqwa, a God consciousness. So literally you get new lenses to put on, and you're looking at the world in a different light. That's how it's a really weird thing to, like, I don't really talk about my subjective feelings much, especially like when talking to non-Muslims, because it is subjective, and but this stream is about our subjective feelings, I suppose. And yeah, my goggles, I've got different goggles on. I see the world differently. I see Allah in I see Allah's wisdom everywhere. And everything that happens to me, even the things that normally I'd really panic about or be really upset, I say Alhamdulillah, because I know that Allah, if I do my hardest to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He wants the best for me as well. So that thing that seems negative or bad or hard or a challenge, it either going to make me stronger, or it's a test for me to see if I'm sincere. And if you go, even the little things in your life, if you look at everything that happens in your life like that, alhamdulillah, like even I know it sounds silly, even small things like dropping the milk and it smashes all over the floor, like Allah planned that for some reason. So maybe it was maybe I need to work on my patience, or maybe I should know that my wealth, I could spend it on, and it could be taken in an instant without my planning, and all sorts can happen, and it's signs from Allah. And the Quran says that we give signs within the world and within yourself, and it's those little things that it's a really weird thing, because it's all about how you perceive life. A big analogy that I like, that someone that gave it a khutbah once, is a bit like that the whole universe is in sync with Allah's will, is in sync of what it's meant to do, and the only creations that aren't jinn and mankind, we have to choose to sink in. So the more we obey Allah, the more we sink into that creation of how we're meant to be, and the more we sink into that creation, the will of Allah, the happier and more content you are. I remember yesterday, one of the reverts in our group said, he just went, "Oh, do you know what? I've never been so content in my life," and he was so happy. And then just from that, alhamdulillah, and that is something something you need to experience in Islam, instead of me or someone dawah wise can use it to prove Islam. It's something you need to experience, and that's what shocked me the most, because I was an atheist. I accepted Islam because of logical reasons, and I didn't have any of that spiritual stuff. In fact, I found it really hard in the beginning. Doing dua for me was like talking to no one, like stranger, and I had to build up that relationship with Allah, and then Allah gave me those spiritual proofs. So alhamdulillah, that's changed for me. Within my heart, if you know what I mean, rather than the dunya, what's happening. I mean, I'm like you said, I'm not drinking anymore. I used to drink a lot. I don't drink anymore, alhamdulillah. I've got a beautiful wife, and inshallah we'll grow a family together. I'm doing by obeying Allah, my dunya becomes better. I'm in a better position. I'm getting a nicer house now. I'm working harder because for the sake of Allah. Loads of things, because when you put Allah implement it, like worshipping Allah into everything you do, you just excel. Yeah, alhamdulillah, it's been awesome. It's been awesome, mate.
Alhamdulillah.
The other thing I wanted to kind of ask, well, not ask, maybe ask you guys. I think. So when somebody takes their Shahada, and I believe this may be one of the reasons why people often look into Islam but maybe don't go any further. I remember Sister Adele, who recently took her Shahada with us on a live stream not so long ago. MashaAllah, very strong sister, very wise. She said that she didn't feel worthy of her Shahada, and that really hit me. So this is kind of somebody saying, I'm just not good enough yet. I'm not ready. And almost like once you take your Shahada, unless you're that perfect Muslim, and for some people, whether it's giving up certain things, I don't want to give examples, but maybe, if it was, say, music or even people obviously having to deal with family things and like that, it's a very individual case, isn't it? I mean, Hamza's coming on in a second. So Hamza is someone, mashallah, who after his Shahada, immediately made changes in his life and cut things out that he saw were going to affect his Islam. And then there's others, probably like myself, who I've tried to sort of repair things or try and let things, maybe, that sort of plant a seed, it doesn't grow overnight.
Yeah, you're slowly maturing.
How did you guys find, I mean, is that something that affected you guys? Or I think mainly if you had advice for somebody watching who may be worried about that, what would you, because I feel like that's a very common thing for someone looking into Islam is, hang on a minute, Islam's going to take all this away from me. What if I can't handle it? What if I sort of blow out early on? Does that make sense?
I'd tell them to crawl before you can walk, and then before you can run, because then you got to take baby steps. You're not going to change overnight, because some of the things are like if you live most of your life not praying 5 times a day, it's going to be hard it's going to be hard to pray 5 times a day or keep up on track with it. But if you give it your effort and you gradually get into that stage where you're doing your 5 prayers, where you're giving up something that was very like an addiction maybe to you, or something that you really like doing, but now you can't do it no more. But so if you gradually, like get to that point, everybody's different. Some people change overnight. Some people change in a year, 2 years, maybe 3. But everybody's different. I just say crawl before you can walk.
I think that's what by the way, Hamza.
Assalamu alaikum, Hamza. How are you doing?
Wa alaikum assalam. I'm good, man.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, we was talking in the group last night, and we were saying about learning to pray and speaking in Arabic and stuff. And there is the baby steps, and that was the best bit of advice I ever had, was baby steps. You can't expect to jump into this. Like, you don't start swimming in one day. Some people do, I guess, but you don't get thrown into a pool and you start swimming 10 lengths or whatever. It's doggy paddle, then you learn front crawl, back crawl, whatever. So it's exactly that analogy. You just got to take it piece by piece. And like with me, I used to struggle giving up. I used to play poker once or twice a week. And that was my thing that I struggled to give up straight away. I wasn't as dedicated as Hamza. Just go, right, that's haram, stop. I had to slowly wean it out of my life. But I sat there playing the game thinking, I know I shouldn't be here. And you got that thing in your head, you've got that God consciousness, and that's what pushed me away from it eventually, was the knowledge that I shouldn't be there. And it only took me about 2-3 months, but I like say it's not one big bang. You can't learn to swim straight away.
Yeah, I think everyone's different. I think the majority of people need to take the baby steps. There's a chosen few like Hamza that can go right. But the biggest reason why I think if you look at the condition of the heart, like when you disobey Allah, that it blackens your heart. And it's kind of like a muscle that needs exercising. You can't just go, right, I'm like your analogy, Martin, that I'm going to do 10 lengths or whatever, like 100 lengths, and you're going to go, you got to exercise that muscle and let it go or you'll just drop and you go, I can't do this anymore. A bit like this Surah Mulk thing. I can't do it. I'm struggling. We're doing Surah Mulk for there's 30 verses, ayats. We're doing one a day. I'm struggling, man. But baby steps, so I don't mind if I finish late. But I think baby steps would be the biggest thing, because you'll see your life change slowly, alhamdulillah. But you might want to change it fast. But the reality, especially when you're brand new, Abdullah, big tip here. You're zealous. You're like, you love Allah, and you're like, thank you Allah for giving me this, like this saving rope that you've given me. And you want to do everything. You want to do everything how it's meant to be. But the truth is, you haven't exercised that muscle, and you might drop completely. Yeah. And I have an analogy when you're growing your Islam is take one step forward each time. But if you slip and you take 2 steps back, a step back, take 2 steps forward. Don't drop completely. It's better to go slowly. And then if you mess up, you can fix those little mistakes rather than messing up massively. Like people that go on the deen fully and then they I can't handle it, and they get drunk and then they really struggle to get back up again.
Exactly.
That's what I would advise. But again, everyone's different. Hamza's very independent and he knows what he wants. What do you say?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I was speaking to this is behind me. Okay. Yeah, basically. To be honest with you, I think the way you approach Shahada and life after Shahada will depend on how you came to Islam and what your environment was at that time. So see, some people come to Islam just because they've been with a Muslim boy for so long, or a Muslim girl, or whatever it is, and they're embracing Islam is going to enhance everything straight away. It's like they're going to get everything's going to become better. Because I've had many shahadas where a Muslim guy's come with his wife who's not a Muslim. I said, look, you know, I'd really like it to be a Muslim, this, that, the other. So then when I speak to her, mashallah, and we speak about Islam and whatever, for her, becoming a Muslim, everything's just going to be better overnight, straight away, yeah? And then you have other people whose partners haven't a clue that they're looking into Islam. So when they embrace Islam, their partners have a heart attack. And, you know, this thing, do you tell people you become Muslim? Do you keep it secret to yourself and this, that, the other? Now, me personally, I believe you need to tell the closest people to you straight away. I really, really do. You know, and, you know, a funny way to say, if you go to your mum and dad and say, listen, what would you say if I told you I was gay? Right? And oh, son, oh, daughter, we love you as well. Okay. Well, don't worry, I'm not gay. I'm become a Muslim.
Yeah.
And then see the reaction. So, like I say, you would approach it how your environment is. Yeah. Now, me, when I accepted Islam, my environment was as far away from Islam as you could ever possibly be, because I didn't even have Muslim people around me. I was living in South Wales. My business was riba. I was doing mortgages and such. South Wales. Hey, yeah. Imagine my Cardiff, Bristol City takes that. Anyway, so I'm surrounded in a white council estate, no Muslims around me. I'm in a relationship with a girl who's obviously not a Muslim, English girl. My business is haram, doing what I'm doing. I didn't see any possible way I could become a Muslim and stay living there, personally, due to the zeal I had to become a Muslim, because I knew it was going to cost me everything. So the best thing I did a mini hijrah. I left where I was in South Wales and I moved to London. And alhamdulillah, I moved into a Muslim community. My friend invited me to stay at his house, and his brother gave me a job, and I was surrounded by Muslims from the get-go. And I think I had a head start in that way, because I didn't have to hide my Islam. I didn't have to, you know, oh, I'm a vegetarian, mum, please don't give me any meat. Or I'm a teetotal now. I've stopped drinking alcohol. I could be open. I could just live my life, you know. Yeah. And then I'll be honest with you, I became I want to wear a kameez. I want to wear a thobe. You know, I remember my first Eid, I was wearing shawal kameez, walking around like a Pakistani. Because I thought, this is Islam. Yeah. Honestly, subhanallah, I went to I accepted Islam October 2001, which was Ramadan in that time, and mashallah, 3 months later I was in Morocco getting married, and I'm parading around in this big shawal kameez in the streets of Morocco. Subhanallah. It was so funny. Subhanallah.
I'm assuming you didn't have the beard back then either.
Say it again.
I'm assuming you didn't have the beard back then either. So
I kept growing like a kind of goat kind of thing, and you know, I was shaving it up to here and here and here, and then I mean that changed when I went to Kuwait with a brother, and he said to me, "Why do you keep messing with your beard? Why don't you just let it grow?" I said, "Oh, because it doesn't grow. You know, it doesn't grow here. Oh, it itches. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. Just let it grow." He goes, "The bottom part will meet the top part anyway, and it'll become one." I was like, "You know what? Let it go, man." Subhanallah. But like I say, especially the time. I mean, I accepted Islam 3 weeks after 9/11, so you can imagine the atmosphere about Islam. And ironically, I believe that was one of my catalysts to become a Muslim, because I was in the pub and everyone's abusing Islam and Muslims. They're terrorists, and this and that. And I'd be like, well, actually, no, Islam doesn't teach that. Oh, Islam is that. And they're like, what are you saying that for? You're Muslim. And I was like, well, no, I'm not a Muslim. And they go, why are you a Muslim and you believe all that rubbish? Why are you a Muslim? And that's when I went, I don't know, why aren't I? You know what I mean? I kept every time I spoke to someone about Islam when I wasn't a Muslim, I kept apologizing at the beginning, saying, well, I'm not a Muslim, but, and I kept saying this. And then people were saying, well, why aren't you Muslim then? And then that's when I realized that, subhanAllah, Just embrace it. But I've said this many times as well. You know, we all have lies. You know, this is a tangible thing. You know, Islam encompasses every aspect of your life. So me personally, I was intellectually convinced Islam was true, but I couldn't accept it. And the reason I couldn't accept it is I knew what would it mean by accepting it. I knew it would get its paws into everything. I knew things I liked doing I wouldn't be able to do anymore. I knew it would really impact my relationship with my girlfriend and my daughters. I knew my business is going to go out the window. And then I thought, okay, let's just imagine I can stomach all that. Let's just imagine I can take that. Where am I going to live? What am I going to do? How am I going to get any money? I'm living with my girlfriend. If I accept Islam and I move out, where am I going to live? I'm going to be living in a place, trying to be a Muslim, no Muslims around me, no support. My father's going to cut me as soon as he finds that I can't do the business anymore because we were in a family business. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't accept Islam for practical reasons. Because I'm not going to, me personally, and this is not for every revert to take this on, if I was going to become Muslim, I was going to become a Muslim. And if this is it, this is it. And my values are going to change overnight. They weren't going to wait. Because I wouldn't feel, because when you accept Islam, you're like a newborn baby. Your sins are erased. The things you did in your ignorance are gone now. I mean, I decided, well, look, if I'm going to do that, well, I'm going to start, filling it up again if I don't get on it straight away. But it was only when a Muslim brother, my very good friend, said, look, I'll give you a job. Sorry, I'll give you a place to stay, and my brother will give you a job. And it was those are the two things that gave me. And then obviously I had this kind of car accident that made me think that I'm going to lose these things anyway that I was afraid of losing. But the point here is I'm trying to make is that Muslims who are speaking to non-Muslims about Islam and such, you need to be there to support them. You need to think of these things. Every human being needs somewhere to live. Every human being needs food in their mouth and an income and such. And this is one thing that will go out of the window, potentially, if someone accepts Islam. So you need to be there for them to support them in that way. Do you get me? Mm-hmm. But I would say everybody look at their personal circumstances and move on that level. You know, Adele has her own situations, fasting in a house where no one else is fasting. I mean, that must be terrible. That must be so hard. SubhanAllah. Yeah. And people looking at it thinking you're weirdo. Why aren't you fasting? You know what I mean? And I think that's another thing that happens when you accept Islam. Your values shift. You know, the things that you thought were important in life actually don't quite seem so important no more. And the things that you never even considered to be of any importance now become the highest of priorities. And the problem is people around you don't have that same paradigm shift in their value system. So they're still on the things that they thought was, and this is one thing that does affect relationships, because you could be in a relationship with a girl or a guy. And the reason you're together is because you were compatible. The reason is because you had things in common. The reason is you liked the same things, you laughed at the same things, and all of this kind of thing. But as soon as Islam comes into the equation, that's going to change. And you have to be ready for that. You know, I'm not trying to scare people away from Islam, by the way, because it's the reality. And this is the thing again. You don't accept Islam just because your partner's a Muslim or because your friends are Muslim or you like the way Muslims behave. You should accept Islam truly because you believe it's the truth. Mm-hmm. And if you believe it's the truth, then you should want it for everybody in reality. So you should want it for your parents. You should want it for your partners. You should want it for your kids. You should want it for your friends. You know, I have some non-Muslims speaking to me, and they say, I've got lots of Muslim friends. And do they speak to you about Islam? And they said, well, not really. I said, to be honest with you, they're not really your friends then. Because
yeah. Wow.
No, but if they were your friends, they would care about you. They would try to show you this beautiful way of life.
Yeah.
And then another thing, sorry, I'm rambling here. The other thing you'll find when you accept Islam is that you'll look at your whole life and all the things you were taught and all the geography and all the history and all the politics, and you go, oh my God, I knew nothing. I thought when I'm a bit of a big head, I thought I knew so much before I accepted Islam. And then when I accepted Islam, wallahi, I became a child. I literally, like Brother Abdullah was saying, you crawl, man, and then you're like you're trying to crawl, trying to walk, but you start reassessing everything. You start looking at history from another angle. Mm-hmm. You know, I said to my family, I said, look, we're an intelligent family. Why has nobody brought this Islam to the table before? Mm-hmm. You know, I've not heard nobody speak about this. So, you know, this is where we are. And like when I accepted Islam, I lost everything overnight. And it took my dad, I don't know how long, maybe 15 years. 15 years before he could speak to me again.
Right.
So in that, trust me, because my dad's stubborn. So in that, all right, there's hope for everybody.
I wonder where you got it from.
As a Muslim right now, don't worry about it. Because as soon as they see their grandchildren, their hearts will melt and it'll be over. Yeah? They'll have no choice. Because that's the way it is. You know, just look like back in the day, you know, the racism that used to occur here in England. But as soon as the girls were having little mixed race kiddies, and you see the grandparents walking around with it, and then all of a sudden you can't be racist no more because your grandchild's a mixed race.
Right.
So, and it's the same thing's happening with Islam. Their grandchildren are becoming Muslims now. The old people, it can't be this anti-Islam no more. Do you get me?
Right.
Like I say, be open and honest with your family and say, look, all that's going to change by me being a Muslim is that I'm never going to be an alcoholic. I'm never going to be a drug addict. I'm never going to be this. I'm never going to be that. I'm going to try and take care of you in your older age as you took care of me when I was young. You know, these are, if you ask any parent, what are the ideal qualities that you would want your child to have in their interactions with other people and then interactions with you? And you didn't put a name to it. You just said, just give me the attributes. What would you want to see? Do you want them to be drinking alcohol and getting drunk and rolling around and this, that, and the other? Or do you want to see them getting happily married, settling down, having kids and so? What would you want? And I guarantee you, and I'm in here in England, innit? So if you got, I'm Welsh. So if we're right, if you told them to write a list of the top 10 qualities they would love their children to have, I guarantee you at least 8 will be from Islam. Guaranteed 8, easily. And this is the thing that people don't realize. That, you know, my ex-girlfriend didn't realize, because there were things about me she didn't like in the relationship, but she put up with because it is where it is. So, you know, drinking alcohol, you can't say to your boyfriend back in England, oh, I don't like you drinking alcohol. Stop drinking alcohol. It's very, very hard because it's in a social norm. And so she didn't like that. And my gambling, she didn't like that. But these are all social norms. These are things that people do.
Yep.
When I accepted Islam, they all went out the window. So it's like I was the upgrade. And this is something now I'm speaking to the partners of people whose other partner may have embraced Islam, and you're thinking this is not what I signed up for, and you might overreact initially. Okay, let the dust settle, and see what you're getting now. Yeah, see what the situation is now. What type of how is he going to? So let's say it's a girl with a guy, and the guy's accepted Islam, and the girl's having a heart attack. Oh my God. Relax. What does it mean now that he's a Muslim? It means he's not going to cheat on you. There you go. There's Brucey number 1. He doesn't fear you. He fears Allah. So he's not worried about that. Yeah. Number 2, he's not going to go out getting drunk with his mates and clubbing. So all of these kind of things, you know, he's not going to gamble all his wages away on a pub on a Friday night. You know, these are all things that are going to improve that person you're with. So my advice would be, don't have an automatic, oh, I didn't sign up to be with a Muslim. Just relax and say, okay, well, what does it mean now you're a Muslim? How is it going to change between me and you? If you're married, it's easier because obviously you're married. Alhamdulillah. It's still halal, your relationship. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's a difference of opinion when it comes to a woman who accepts Islam who's married to a non-Muslim. Different story. Mm-hmm. In a girlfriend-boyfriend scenario, it's a different, you know, again, it's a tougher one. But, you know, my recommendation will be, look, if you're just girlfriend and boyfriend, the reality is you're going to have a bedroom ban initially. And then give the chance for the dust to settle and just see what you're getting. Because I guarantee you, when you see what you're getting, you'll think, whoa, this is who I wanted. This is what, all the bad things are gone. This is the guy. This is the girl. This is what I wanted. You know, so that would be my advice. This is not for the Muslim. This is for the partner of the Muslim, or the mother of the Muslim, or the father of the Muslim, who disowns their children because they accept Islam, because they don't understand what Islam truly is. Relax. Don't cut your child off. Just relax. Say, okay, act like it's a phase. Say, yeah, okay, yeah, you're a goth this week. You're a Muslim next week. Yeah, behave in that manner and see what you're getting. And that child who used to do your nutting, a child used to always be in trouble, you'll be, well, whoa, what happened? But if you cut them off initially, disown them, you're not my daughter if you're a Muslim and this and that, then you're going to miss that. Yeah, you're gonna miss that time with your children and your grandchildren, all of these things over what? Over ignorance.
Right. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So I would say and even if you're someone who's telling your mum and your dad or your partner about Islam, so this is now addressing the one who's embraced Islam, say to them, look, don't overreact, relax, don't worry. I'm not going to Syria, just relax. and just see how Islam will improve me. And then you'll agree that Islam was a good thing for me. Because I've spoken to many parents of people who've embraced Islam, and they've all said the transformation was next level. I mean, I'll give you an anecdote of that. I may have said it before. At my local mosque, there was madrasa on a Saturday, the Arabic teaching class on a Saturday. And I was sat in the office. And this was the first Saturday I worked, by the way, because I worked Monday to Friday in the office here and there. And the Amir of the masjid said, well, why are you coming on a Saturday morning? We've got a madrasa there. Just keep an eye. So the first Saturday, I used to play football on a Friday night. So I used to hate getting up on a Saturday morning. But I said, you know what? I'll do this. So I was sat in the office. And I heard a big commotion outside. And I go outside. And there's an Eastern European guy being abused by Bengali parents. Get out to the mosque. Get out to the mosque. Get out to the mosque. The car park. And he was a bit drunk. So I was like, whoa, leave me alone. You come. So I invited him into the office, sat him down, and he was a little bit drunk. And I know we don't give dawah to drunk people, but I made an exception in this case. Made him a cup of tea, sat down, found out his life, his story. He was an alcoholic. His parents had like this bread kind of factory thing, but they hated him because of the way he was always drunk and this and that and whatever. MashaAllah, I spoke to him about Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and he accepted Islam. He took his Shahada there and then.
Allah.
From then on, his transformation was next level. His parents couldn't believe, though, this guy now is no longer drinking alcohol no more. He became the son that they'd always wanted, but without the bad sides. And that's what the beautiful thing about Islam. It's like a purification. Because if you look at what you can't do as a Muslim, and I'm not going to go into the 5 poisons.
Excuse me.
I'm not going to go into the 5 poisons. But it purifies you from them all. So again, I've used this anecdote, but I'll say it again because this I'm not saying these things because I like hearing the sound of my own voice, but I think the story rings true. These 2 council estate ladies, I'm not being down on council estate, but it was a council estate, proper aggressive against Islam. I was in the market selling Islamic goods. They were looking and sneering at my stall and such. So I said to them, about, you'd be blessed if your kids became Muslim, your son became a Muslim. And they, why'd you say that? Like, really aggressive. I says, well, because they'll never come and say, I'm an alcoholic, I'm this, I'm that, I'm a drug addict, I'm going to prison, I've done this, I've done that, whatever. They're going to come home, take care of you. They're going to get married, they're going to settle down, they're going to be grandkids. And their response was, yeah, but they don't need to be a Muslim to do all of those things. And I said, no, but Islam's the only thing that guarantees it. Nothing else can guarantee it. Nothing. There's nothing else that can guarantee that your child will not be a drug addict, alcoholic, except Islam. And I don't just mean just because they say they're a Muslim. I mean because they do Islam. Yeah. And I say this to Muslims as well. I say, look, there's no point being a Muslim if you don't do Islam because you've missed the whole point of it. Mm-hmm. Islam is guidance for you. It's there to help you through this jungle of life. If you're not following it, what's the point? You've missed the whole point that you're a Muslim. Subhanallah. That's my 2 points.
Inshallah. Yeah. Can you guys hear me? Just check because I left the note. It's 4 o'clock, Hamza. So I don't know if are we waiting for our special guest or should I just?
Yeah, there's no response so far, but it's a different time zone, and so I'm still waiting.
Someone did come backstage, but then they dropped out. So there was somebody that looked like they were trying to get in.
No, because I haven't sent the link yet, and haven't had a response yet today. I messaged at 2:30. Yeah, let's get you some, man. I messaged about 2:30, and she's not been online for 5 hours, so maybe sleeping. It's in the US as well, so it's that 6-hour flex, isn't it? So
it's 10:01 in the morning, and
yeah, you see, I was sleeping here at 10:01, so maybe it's
going back to your seeing changes in people. I suppose, Abdullah, you I'm assuming your family have seen a massive change in you in the last 2 months.
They see my mom used to stay up every night. Every night she used to stay up, like calling my phone like hours. Every hour on the hour she would call my phone. Where are you at? Are you okay? Are you okay? Because I was in the streets all day, getting high, getting drunk, doing drugs, hanging out with people that I could have got killed that night, or I could have got arrested for life that night. And my mom is sitting in the house worrying, crying, like praying that I come home, and I'm coming home not caring about her feelings, drunk, going to my room like, Mom, what you doing? Go to sleep. So now that I've embraced Islam, and I've like tried to turn every point of my life towards Islam, of researching, watching just Islamic videos and keeping it strictly Islam. Like, she's seen a big change. She sees me in the house more. She sees me around more. Like, I'm not getting drunk. I'm not doing drugs anymore. So she's very happy, and slowly but surely she's gradually getting to that point where she wants to listen to me and wants to know why I made these choices and all that. So inshallah, she'll listen and sit down, and we can talk, and she'll become Muslim herself. Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, Isa.
Wa alaikum salam.
How you doing, bro? Ramadan Mubarak to you, bro.
Ramadan Mubarak.
I suppose, like I was saying, I was just going back to Hamza's point on your parents will see the change, or the people in your life will see the change. Isa's been through the same as well, and I know most people here probably know your story, Isa. But you've changed massively as well, didn't you? Like,
alhamdulillah, we can say that.
Alhamdulillah.
Change for the better, brother.
I'd love to have met the Isa pre-Shahada. That would have been funny.
Another thing, like I've been talking to my cousin, and we've grew up like partners in the streets. But ever since I embraced Islam, I started talking about Islam to him. And even before, when I was trying to change my life into the Christianity role and all that, I tried to show him the Bible. He was like, I'm not reading that, bro. But when I embraced Islam and everything was Islam, and I showed him videos on Islam, I showed him EF Dawah videos, he started looking up on his own, he started researching on his own, and he's like, bro, I really like this, it's really interesting, and I want to learn more about it. And I'm like, inshallah, bro, we do your Shahada and we do this thing. Like, I think he's fasting. He said he was gonna fast. I haven't talked to him yet, but he said he was doing Ramadan. So inshallah, he's doing it.
Inshallah. I wanted to touch on Hamza's point. Was obviously point about giving, our partners and family advice, which is mashallah is great. They're going to kind of get, they'll get the Isa 2.0 or the Martin 2.0. They're going to get the improved versions. But I say for me, when I converted, it was. I think I struggled having the patience because I think a lot of it has to come from us. We have to then show them what Islam has done as quickly as possible, I guess. And for me, I think I found it very hard dealing with partners or family giving you kind of the same misconceptions or asking about this, and I found it I didn't have the sabr really, but I feel like looking back, if I could have controlled that a bit better. Because I feel like they have they didn't sign up for it, and they kind of have a chance to get to see what Islam is, and you are someone that can actually show it to them.
Right.
So yeah.
How's man like Isa? I haven't seen you for ages, bro.
Alhamdulillah, just getting on with this Ramadan. Just feeling a bit lethargic right now.
At least
it's nearly time for the afternoon sleep, isn't
it?
I can see two Hamzas, two Martins.
Going delirious, bro. Yeah. I was going to say, at least it's not 10 o'clock in the morning like it is for Abdullah. So
yeah.
Isa, what would you say the main thing for you to change post Shahada? Have you got sort of a main thing, or I know we've all kind of gone how much everything and perspective changes. Have you got anything that stands out as a change in you?
Yeah, as in an object, or as a change in myself.
I guess the change in yourself we were kind of discussing. Yeah.
Yeah, my whole attitude is a lot different to what it used to be.
Yeah.
Yep.
The way I used to speak to people is not the way I speak to people now.
Oh, really? Oh my God!
Oh my word! Did you used to be polite?
No, man, just plus 100. I used to be straightforward, straight to the point. If I seen something wrong, I'd tell them straight. I'm like an Hamza. I was like an Hamza version of non-Muslim drinking mania.
Yeah.
I was giving a non-Muslim dawah before I was Muslim.
Oh, far streets.
Yeah. I've calmed down a lot. I don't know. I've calmed down a lot, man. All my friends who are not Muslim who always say to me, "Man, I don't recognise you. You're not the same person anymore."
Right. Yeah.
Well, pre-Shahada, you're for me, I guess you're kind of looking for stuff, aren't you? And you're doing things because something's missing in your life. I mean, as Muslims, we believe in the fitrah, and we believe that we have that within us. And I guess, I think becoming Muslim, kind of, you feel a bit more content, don't you? A bit more like satisfied, just in general, as opposed to a bit lost.
Well, I had a plan before my Shahada. I had a plan that I was going to carry on doing the same thing that I was doing. But it didn't work like that. I don't know. I had this plan that I was not going to tell anybody.
Was that like a 2-year plan to jail?
I was just going to carry on with my mates drinking and everything. But I've already accepted Shahada. But my video went viral. My Shahada video went viral, and then there were no way around it, really.
Yeah.
How did your cellmates take it?
Some people won't speak to me. One of my friends just blocked me completely and never spoke to me ever again. Still to this day, still hasn't spoken to me. One of my friends, one of my really good friends, he doesn't speak to me ever again either. He just said, "Oh, you only become Muslim because because you want money." I went, "What are you on about?"
Because you're ginger, mate.
I've got a few friends who are still friends now, and I've shown them a few errors in the ways, and when they misrepresent the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Were you ginger before Shahada, or did it just kind of happen after?
Well, I don't know. Can't remember. It only got spotted out when I became Muslim.
I know it's going to happen to me one day. I'm going to wake up and go, "What's this? What's this?"
It's already there in your beard.
No one recognizes a ginger beard until you become Muslim.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
I'm trying to work out whether you're ginger, Abdullah.
Yeah, I'm Puerto Rican and Irish. Yeah.
Oh, right there.
Yeah.
The reality is, if a white guy in this country with fairly, sort of light brown hair, if they grow a beard, it's going to come ginger, because you quite often see the hair colour difference.
I haven't got ginger in my beard, but we can't see it now.
It's just funny how it's kind of linked to new Muslims.
We're abused as kids as gingers. We needed someone to belong.
Yeah.
We get a girlfriend, and only the Muslims would have us. So
I got bullied as a kid, but it took me 26 years to become a Muslim to find that way.
I was talking to somebody the other day about, like, they see Islam as this male-dominated, the women are oppressed and all the rest of it. If that was the case, like, why aren't all these men becoming Muslim? Like, why? I can have 4 wives. I can do this.
Tell that man he can live with my wife for 1 week.
Alhamdulillah, you got a wife, bro.
Tell him he can live with my wife for 1 week, and then he'll see that they're not all pregnant.
Yeah.
Oh, my days.
There's some.
The figure 70%, isn't it? 70% of new Muslims are female. So this kind of misogynistic, oppressive religion. Amazing how it's managed to attract all of these women. And do you know what? I've noticed? And my sister's an example where they convert to Islam and they sort of pick up the religion, and then they become more practicing than the husband. You know, I think my sister is now telling her husband, you got to do this, got to do that, keeping him straight.
Yeah, I've got a funny anecdote about that actually. I may have told you guys. I was in Wembley Market, so this is over 10 years ago now, and this Arabic kind of looking geezer came with this beautiful, stunning blonde girl. I think she was Hungarian, and he brought her. And he goes, "Oh, can you give her Islam? Can you give her Islam?" And I'm like, "What do you mean to give her Islam?" Because I wanted to be a Muslim. I wanted to be a Muslim. And I was like, "All right, nice." So I spoke to her, mashallah, and one thing led to another, and she took a Shahada, mashallah. And then I turned to him and I says, "Get ready." He goes, "Well, what do you mean?" I says, "Well, she's a Muslim now." She goes, "Well, you're going to have to step up. You're going to have to be a Muslim now." Because no disrespect, you've come here with your girlfriend, mate. And I said, I don't think Islam is going to be that strong in you right now. And I said, but she's going to now want to know what Islam is. So he kind of laughed it off, kind of thing. Anyway, subhanAllah, about 6 months later, I would say, this blonde girl came back. And this time she was wearing hijab. And she goes, "Oh, salaam alaikum, remember me?" And I was like, "Yeah, mashallah, mashallah, I see wearing hijab now, alhamdulillah, how is everything?" She goes, "Yeah, it's good." I said, "And how is it with how is he?" She goes, "Him." She goes, "Oh, no, I got rid of him." She goes, "I married a proper Muslim." And this is what happens. These guys don't realize that they're going to get found out if they come in with their girlfriends and they want to be Muslims, so their mum accepts them. Because this is what happens. You get a lot of Muslims. They've got these English girlfriends or whatever. I'm talking about England and Wales. Sorry, Lucky. Their parents won't accept the girl because she's not Muslim. So they say to the girl, look, just be a Muslim, and just so my parents will accept it and this that. And then the girl accepts Islam. The girl learns about Islam. The girl looks at her boyfriend and says, "Wait a minute, you're not a Muslim. You don't pray. You don't do this. You don't do that." And then like I say, they outgrow them. So I always warn people who come to me with their partners saying, "Oh, can you give her Islam? Can you speak about Islam?" I say, "Get ready, bro, because you're going to be in the firing line." First thing she's going to look at you and say, "Listen, mate, you're not up to it." Because what happens is that value shift, you see. Because whoever you marry is going to be the role model for your kids. Mm-hmm. So if you accept Islam, you then get a standard. And then if you're a Muslim and you're not on that standard, get ready, mate. That's it.
Yeah.
On some of the retreats we've been on, Ben's been to it. Oh, and Issa. That's where I met you, Issa. You get the stories of the brothers reverting. "Oh, I reverted because I found a girlfriend or whatever," and then they're not married anymore because, like, it's exactly the same story from the other way. They start learning about the religion. They're like, "Damn, all right, this is what it is." Okay, so try and drag their wives along with them, and they're just like, "No, I used to like Darren 1.0. I don't like Darren 2.0.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up.
So that marriage breaks down, and then they find another one to go to. But alhamdulillah, it's amazing.
But sometimes you realize people in life are only going to take you to a certain point anyway. They're not necessarily going to take you all the way. To get you to be the person you are in that position to accept Islam, that's good enough. But after that, they're not the person you're meant to be with. And that's the reality. Don't get me wrong, some can go along with it, but it's not necessarily the case. It's the value shift, you see. That's the problem, the paradigm shift. That you're not going to go out on your birthday now and this and that and on all these kind of things that they used to do in. You know what I mean? And meeting your friends for that game of cards or whatever it may be. You're not going to do those things no more. You're going to start changing everything. And, I think you had a talk the other day on the zealots, on the zealousness. Yeah. And it's that can be over the top as well, because some people all of a sudden the next day start haram, that, and then they're very, very harsh. And then what happens then is that person who's accepted Islam epitomizes the actual caricature of what people think Muslims are, all angry and shouting all the time. It becomes like a catch-22 scenario. So, it's like Jordan says, sometimes it's on us as well. We accept Islam. We have to empathize that everyone else is not along with this right now. And it's going to take time. And in our minds, we want to race. Our grave is our grave. We haven't got time for this. We want to move on with this. We want to do it. And it's like I say, and especially with the propaganda against Islam, it's tough. It's tough. Alhamdulillah. I mean, I remember I said taking my Shahada, and I was like, "What do I do now?" And they're like, "Well, that's it. You're a Muslim." I was like, "Well, what now? Live your life. Get on with it." You know what I mean? It was like it's going to be some transformation. What, you know? But it's down to us. It's what we put. See, you're only going to get out of Islam what you put into it. So we have people that accept Islam, and then we see them leaving Islam, and we think, "Oh, that person left Islam because they didn't maybe they don't think it's true no more, or whatever, or they weren't really convinced." No, the point is this: you're not going to see the benefits of Islam unless you do Islam standard. If you accept Islam and you don't pray, then nothing's going to happen. You're not going to have the iman. You're not going to have the strength to do the things that you're supposed to do as a Muslim. Shaitan will whisper to you and all of these things. You need to, first thing to do is pray. Get down on the salah, connect to your creator, connect to the one who created your soul, put your soul at ease, and then move on with the next stages. Do you get me? So, this is how we should be as Muslims, mashallah.
I thought this was quite a good question for anyone that wants to take it. As reverts, what was your most difficult scenario since converting?
Well, mine's obviously telling my people, telling my dad I can't do the business no more, telling my girlfriend that I can't live with her no more. For me, that was hard. Telling my little girls that I'm going to have to leave. So that's what I would say was my hardest.
Yeah, my dad in that whole scene, that would be my hardest as well. Because every time I talk to my dad, he hangs up on me now. So he tells me he's going to block me. So that's a hard thing, hearing it from your dad. And you try to talk to your dad when he tells you can come to him about anything. But then when you try to come to Islam, he yells at you, tells you that you believe in lies, hangs up, threatens that he's going to block you. So that's really hard, So...
Yeah, I had that scenario with my father. I accepted Islam. He wouldn't speak to me. 5 years later, my brother commits suicide as a manic depressive, and he fell out with him over something else as well. And when he spoke to me at this point, and he said, "Look, I've made my peace with Wayne, my brother." And I was thinking to myself, "How have you done that? He's dead." But my dad's into this kind of spiritual business. And then I thought this was a beautiful opportunity, right? After 5 years of not talking to me, for me to say, "Yeah, I think we should make our peace as well." And his response was, "Oh, no, you made your bed, you lie in it." As if I was coming to him because I made a mistake and I want to get back and be friends again. You know what I mean? And then it took another 10 years for him to finally crack. So, it is tough because I imagine me as well, 3 weeks after 9/11, and I'm telling my parents I'm becoming Muslim. Can you imagine? It's what?
Yeah.
Everyone's thinking terrorists, Afghanistan, so and you're like, "I want to be a Muslim," So, I want to be one of them.
The hardest, man. That is hard.
Hardest thing for me was my dad passed away not too long after I became Muslim, and knowing that I didn't have the chance to give him the dawah, to make him realize that, I'm still struggling with my mum now, but you've got that thought of you can't pray for your father now he's gone away, and it's those things that people don't realize. When you become a Muslim, you lose so many things. If somebody dies, you can't pray for that person. You can't make dua for them. And I think born Muslims take that for granted. The fact that when their parents, when their grandparents, their brothers, sisters pass away, they can make dua for them. And inshallah, if I die with some taqwa and I get given the chance to take my dad into Jannah with me, then I'll be happy. But obviously that's the biggest thing on my mind is, even with my kids, they're not Muslim, and if they pass away, then it's a horrible situation. So that's the biggest issue I've got in response to that question. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just to bring it down a level, sorry guys.
No, this is a negative question, but it's reality check of what like new Muslims go through. and kind of a reality check for new Muslims as well. I suppose it's normal to go. I feel blessed that, like, when I reflect on it, I think most of my problems were the worries of myself within myself. The actual things that happened, yeah, they were horrible. I moved out and left my my wife at a time, and we like, my story will come up again. It's on. I took it off the channel because I want to redo it, but. I took my Shahada and I was with a girlfriend at a time, and we lived together, and then we got in the car to make it halal, but she wasn't happy that I was Muslim, and big long story, eventually it was like I wasn't going to flourish as a Muslim with her, and it was decaying our relationship. So I had to, after 9 years, I had to like end it, and it was really hard, and I had to move out, and I moved out into this small dingy place from having a nice house, and I just felt like it was such a test. But literally Allah says, whatever you give up for Allah, He'll give you something better. Literally within months, subhanallah, everything came together. All the money I lost, I got in a spontaneous bonus at work, subhanallah. And now I'm married to a believer, alhamdulillah, and it was really easy as well. Allah made it really easy. I know Revet's go through such trouble to marry, alhamdulillah, like Allah just made it really easy for me. So although we go through these trials and tribulations, like I said earlier, it's part of the journey, it's part of what Allah plans for you. We got to look at those things and make the right decision, and have trust in Allah, that He's doing the right thing for the best for us, inshallah. So, yeah.
Well said. The biggest struggle, the biggest family struggle for me is the disconnection with my brothers and sister and my mum and my dad. It's not the same anymore, so it's like they don't ring me up anymore, for like certain things anymore. So it's like I don't know what to say half of the time. That's the biggest struggle I've gone through, is the disconnection between my family. Even my uncles and stuff, some of my uncles have blocked me and stuff like that. Don't speak to me anymore.
Yeah, I remember meeting your brother at your nikah. It was funny because obviously he's got, we're all there praying and stuff, and he's thinking, what are this lot doing? What are this lot doing? But mashallah, he seemed like a good guy. Mashallah.
Yeah, there's just a disconnection now, man. And every time my brother comes, it's an argument. So it's just stress.
There's another question here, and if anyone wants to add to that one, it says, question for you brothers. What do you think us born Muslims can do to help revert brothers and sisters?
That's a very broad question. It's very large. I'm actually going to do a video soon of like top 5 things you could do to help a new Muslim. So
just be yourself.
To be honest with you, I would say for born Muslims, there's no way that I'm Muslim.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that.
Because for me, and it sounds really, I don't mean it in a derogatory manner, but they're kind of accidental Muslims, and I would say reverts are deliberate Muslims. And so usually with a revert, they've chosen this way of life. They've chosen Islam. They've understood what being a Muslim entails and such. Whereas somebody who's born a Muslim, they're accidentally, it's just an accident of birth, and they take it for granted. And I don't think they appreciate what they have in their hands, to be honest.
But would you say at some stage, Hamza, they have to ask themselves the question, don't they? Why do I believe in this? And then they go through the same process as a revert. So
they have to ask the question, why do I believe Allah exists? Why should I believe Muhammad is a messenger of Allah? Why should I believe the Quran is such a holy book that I should? Because if they don't know the answers to those questions, especially the youth, when they get older and they get asked those questions, and then they say, you're just Muslim because your parents, if you were born in India, you'd be a Hindu. If you were born in China, you'd be a Buddhist, or whatever it may be. So I always say this, Muslims need to be able to answer that question. Why do they believe Islam is true?
Yeah.
Because you're a Muslim doesn't make it true. Just because your parents are from Pakistan or Bangladesh or from Saudi Arabia doesn't make Islam true.
Yep.
So you need to understand why should you believe it's true then? Because if you don't do that, you're just the same as any other religion who just following the religion of their parents just because.
Yeah. You got to be equipped with the misconceptions, because that's going to be brung up a lot too. So any misconception people bring up, you'll have to know exactly how to answer that, to give them a different perspective on what, they're looking at and what they already have in their mind. Because you have to think, like, people who are not Muslim, they usually see what's going on in the news or other people telling them bad things about Islam. So they have all these negative thoughts about Islam. So if they come to someone that was born Muslim, you have to be equipped on knowing all these things. Because if you don't and you're like confused, then it's like, why would I want to follow that, you know?
Yeah. See, I get so many times people say to me, I see Muslims do this. I see Muslims drinking. Yeah, please, if you're Muslim, stop doing these things.
Right, yeah.
You're Muslim. Yeah, you know, don't do these things. Don't have the girlfriends. Don't have the drinking and all these things. Then people can't then say, oh, well, Muslims are just as bad as everyone else. You know? Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, so in terms of like advisory, see, I don't really like to put reverts in some kind of different category to Muslims, you know, because we were talking about how should a born Muslim treat a revert. I guess, look, we're all just Muslim, aren't we? And so the advice of sort of, you know, we had a stream on tattoos the other day, you know, obviously approaching someone and saying, brother, those tattoos are haram. I guess that's not just.
Why do they all have that accent, Jordan?
Yeah, that's someone at my local masjid said that. But I guess that's not just advice to reverts either. We should be treating anyone like that. We should be assuming the best and dealing people with hikmah and understanding and not the haram police.
Yeah, no, but maybe the questioner was asking because you can't say we're in the same category because we've transformed our lives in a way. So maybe the question is asking how can we help somebody who's accepted Islam through the transition. Maybe that was more of the question, you know. So how can we help them their transition to Islam easier? You know, whether it's financially or whether it's socially or whatever it is. Do you get me? I think maybe it's along those lines. So if you know somebody who's accepted Islam, what can you do to make life easier for them? So, for example, prime example is Eid. Yeah, I've seen memes going around saying about how, you know, this Eid you're going to be in the house alone. You're not going to be out with all the Muslims celebrating, visiting family, and all that. And then you've got the guy turning around saying, you know, first time, the revert basically saying it because that's what a lot of reverts face. You know, in Ramadan and Eid day, they don't have this social interaction. They don't have going around to see the families and all this business. They're lonely. Yeah. So you know, you should make an effort if you can, just to make sure that, you know, on Eid, come to my house, we're having food, come and join us, no problem, and just them little kind of things, just to bring in the interaction. Or in Ramadan, say, look, you know, do you want to come for iftar? Do you want to come and break fast at my house this week, or something along those lines, just to give that social interaction? Because, you know, alhamdulillah, you know, obviously when you're married, it's all a completely different story. But I had a good group of brothers around me, and, you know, we go to the restaurants together and all this kind of thing. Prior to that, but well, I say prior to that, I became married. I got married 4 months after accepting it. But the point is, there are some reverts who are isolated, and so not only are they isolated from the Muslim community, they're even isolated from their own community. So because they don't necessarily accept Islam because they've got people around them. They accept Islam because of YouTube videos they've watched. And, you know, and sometimes I forget that because a lot of people I give Islam to Shahada to face to face are people who are in my environment and know there's a mosque they can go to and such. But when people message me wanting to accept Islam who live where there's not a mosque for 50 miles, it's like, whoa. And then we're going to know any Muslims. You're like, oh my God, you know, this is another level. So so if you know any revert Muslims, just inquire, just ask. I mean, obviously, lockdown is a different scenario now. But Ramadan and Eid, which is supposed to be the two celebrations for the Muslims, Eid al-Adha and Eid al-Fitr, these are the days that the Muslims can celebrate. Forget birthdays and Christmases and all that, but these are the 2 days, and yet they're not getting that celebration. They're not feeling it. You know,
can I make the point from the other side that because I think that's spot on, but I'd also make the point to give credit where credit's due is that I've experienced many Muslims supporting within the brotherhood, and it's very supportive. So sometimes we often talk about what they can do better, but I haven't experienced anything so supportive or the love shown, you know, whether it's even on YouTube in comment sections or when you meet people in person or going members out. It's all it's a community of love and support in general, and mashallah, may it last.
Yeah, look, mashallah, greeted wherever I go, alhamdulillah, because I do markets here and there. And the love is another level, man. SubhanAllah.
Yeah.
And, even in Makkah Medina, man, even in Makkah Medina, Sheikh Isa, mashallah, all the Indonesians taking their selfies with him.
Yeah, but where in the world can you go where you're not allowed to leave if they're feeding you?
Say it again.
Oh, yeah.
I said, where in the world can you go? Yeah, if someone's feeding you and they don't let you go home.
In the desert.
Yeah, SubhanAllah.
They
take it as an insult. They take it as an insult if you don't sit and eat with them.
In Saudi, yeah.
Where I live here, man, people are searching the bins and stuff for food.
Yeah,
No, you can't.
Yeah. No. Look, I've been a Muslim now 19 years. 19 years in October, and I've never had any issues within the Muslim community at all. I've never felt outcasted because I'm white or English or anything like that. Mashallah. I think my character's too strong for them to even do it, to be honest with you. But no, but alhamdulillah, in 19 years I've never experienced any form, and if I did sense it, I would quickly put the person straight. But I think, I don't think the person. We're not saying all born Muslims are not doing enough. I think what someone's asking is maybe the person who asked that question may not be doing anything. So they're thinking, how could they contribute to help this transition?
So in the last week, Jordan. In the last week, doing these streams, reading the comments, so ones that I've been on, ones I haven't. I think our audience has learned a lot about what it's like to be a new Muslim and what the realities are being a revert. And a lot of them are like they're getting that okay, and they're realizing what it's really like and want to help. Or want to apologize maybe because I remember the tattoo video at the beginning of it. People were like, why not just remove it? At the end of it, they were saying sorry. They were saying so sorry for thinking that way. I think the biggest thing you could do as a born Muslim, and if you want to help reverts, and I think you should, if there are reverts around you, is learn about that revert's like background and culture and have empathy for it. So you might be able to help easier with questions and stuff. That would be a massive thing,
My advice to Muslims is try and stop talking about football all the time. Like, think of some other stuff.
No.
Too far.
Try and think of some other stuff out there,
Yeah, but I think non-Muslims are, when you speak to non-Muslims about football and stuff, it gives you something in common that you can really talk about.
Yeah, because then I wouldn't have nothing in common with some people.
Other than that, he said there's
But that's a problem, isn't it?
That's one of the biggest struggles to me is the cultural aspects of I don't really get on with some of the common culture aspects where I live. But if they talk about football, then I'm straight away we've got something to talk about.
Yeah, because how else you link with a non-Muslim to keep that social environment and interaction? Because we said about the values. Because you might be mates with somebody because you both watch the football or you both support the same team or whatever it may be, and if that goes as well, then what are you going to talk about? You're going to try and talk about they're in a different paradigm level to you. They're on a different value system. So as long as you keep that one thing, and I think it's good as well. I think. Go on.
Sorry, Hamza.
No, you
no. Keep going.
No, I just think it's they get shocked a little bit sometimes when you speak to football fans about football. They think, you're in the mosque all the time. They don't realize we're still
I love that. To talk about football.
Huh?
You have got something. You have got something in common. You've got the same religion.
Non-Muslim.
Non-Muslim. Okay, you interact with non-Muslims.
No, because my advice to born Muslims would be is first impression is very important, and when somebody comes up to you and says and starts to give you advice before giving you salams, I just don't talk to them anymore. I just give them salams and walk off. It's like you didn't even give me no salams. You didn't even introduce yourself. You just said straight away. You just went, "What's it? Yeah, where's your beard? Why have you shaved your beard off? Or where's your? Why have you not covered your tattoos? Why are your tattoos out in summer?" And stuff like that. And it just puts me off people. And I'm just like, that's one of the biggest problems I have is I've got to learn how to just ignore people. when I first come to Islam, it was hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever gone through. That is that people just picking at your head, telling you where you're going wrong all the time. But then you see them doing the same thing a day later, and you're like, wow, good. And I was always like, a good job I didn't meet Muslims before I come to Islam. I was looking for an excuse not to take my Shahada for weeks and weeks, and because I only knew one Muslim guy and I only trusted that Muslim guy. That's the reason I carried on looking into Islam. But if I met some of the guys that I met since I took my Shahada, I probably wouldn't have even took my Shahada. I'd have just carried on staying in the pub.
I think we touched on it on a previous stream. Always think the best of your brother, regardless.
But when you first come to Islam, you don't have all these ideas, do you, Matt?
No, I'm not on about you, bro. I'm on about the other boys. The people coming up to you. Assume the best of your brother, whether they got a tattoo, whether they've got no beard, whether they've got shorts that just about cover their aura.
But when you're in the pub, no one comes up to you and asks you about your tattoos in the pub and stuff like that, and what you're doing wrong in the pub. Yeah. So then when you're already in that frame of mind anyway, I've just come away from the pub, I'm thinking to myself, I might as well just go back to the pub.
Yeah, everyone's having a go at me.
No one questions me there. Yeah. So that was the biggest struggle, and I still have to bite my tongue now when I just Assalamu alaikum, and then I just walk off now and just leave them to it. I don't know, I'm not. But the biggest thing is your first impressions towards for a born Muslim is just to give a revert your salams and introduce yourself, and show them that we're just normal human beings and we're not around police every 2 minutes, and we don't have to keep looking around because I actually sometimes feel like I have to keep checking myself and stuff. I feel like I'm in a marriage with the people in the mosque. Keep checking myself, and I'm not doing anything wrong all the time. And
I think when you're a brand new Muslim as well, you're insecure about your Islam as well.
100%.
And that doesn't help at all. Is my mic okay, by the way? Because I've moved it. You can hear me.
Cool. Yeah.
Like
as you're talking.
Say that again.
No. Can you stop crunching the crisp packet as you're talking?
There's nothing. I don't know what it is. There's a weird noise in the background. I don't know what it is. But yeah, I forgot what I was going to say now. Never mind. It's gone.
On that
note, bye.
We can have the bloopers video is going to keep coming. I have to have a part 2 soon.
That was great.
I had a guy message me yesterday called Jay. Let's call him Jay, right? And he was saying that he's interested in Islam, right? And he first messaged me 2 years ago. He was 16, and I said, "Look, relax a little bit, yeah." And he's 18 now, and basically, his issue is that about accepting Islam is that convincing his family that what he's going to believe isn't a lie, and he was more concerned with convincing his family Christianity is not true than Islam being true. And and he said that they've said to him that can he prove Jesus didn't die for his sins? And it's like, I'm like, Jay, relax. They're the ones who have to explain what they believe and why they believe it's true. And you can then turn around and say, well, I don't actually believe that's true. Here's what I think is true. And then you can present why. So I think this is a lot of issues potential reverts have as well, is the family and what they believe. And they feel they have to destroy what the family believes first before they accept Islam. Do you get me? But my advice to people like Jay is, if you believe Islam is true for the reasons, for example, that Allah is one of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, his messenger, bear witness to it, live it, and then, inshallah, you can then talk about, well, what do they believe and why? Don't let that be the thing that stops you accepting Islam. That first of all, you think you have to do a polemic job on their other person's religion.
Yeah.
You can simply say, I don't believe it's true. Why do you believe it's true? So I just wanted to, because I know Jay might be watching. So,
good point.
we call him Jay.
Yeah. I said James.
Okay. You know who you are.
Yeah. So we got one more question, and then should we call it a day after that? We got why is it harder to give dawah to family members over complete strangers?
Oh, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
That's an easy one, especially with your parents. Your parents, I had this problem with my father. Now we're talking, but he used to be like the head honcho of the family. He's the one who is the intelligent one, knows all the answers, knows all the solutions to all the problems. And so now all of a sudden you're trying to tell him what's what. Yeah. Your parents have been taking care of you since you were kids. And now all of a sudden you're turning around telling them they're wrong.
Yeah.
They can't take it. They just can't, you know, they can't, especially fathers, they can't handle the young buck becoming the head of the family in that way.
Yeah.
And so, you know, oh yeah, it's another phase you're going through and such like that. And you know, I've give dowry. No, I'm not even give dowry to my father because first just try and make a relationship before anything. Yeah, we touch on it, but our politics don't align, and obviously our religions don't align. My mother, she found out I became a Muslim in my absence, and when I finally found her after like 20 years of looking for her, she'd been fed a diet of Henry Jackson Society books, and her first question was about the age of Aisha rather than her. And so I managed to get through all of that. I finally got through to her, and this is a warning now. This is a warning now that for people who are taking their time with their parents to try to educate them about Islam, because I've made this mistake and I've realized it, and I'll explain what it is. My mum a while back had a heart attack, and I went up to Aberdeen to see her, and I planted proper seeds of Islam that time I was there. And when I came back, she started saying she's really looking into religion now. And then later on, she said to me, "Can you send me a Quran so I can read it?" Because she was starting to read the Bible. I said, "Look, forget the Bible, read the Quran." Mm-hmm. She goes, "Okay, get me one in English." Right? 2 days later, she had a fall. She's now in an old person's home, lost all faculty, can't have a conversation with her. She's mentally gone now. And I think, subhanAllah, this is the same person that was rationalizing, arguing against me. We have a little bit of tit-to-tat, yeah. And now all of a sudden, she can't, you know, I ring her and it's just, "Get me out! Get me out! Oh, I can't hear!" Mental. Subhanallah Adim. And this shows how fragile we are. And so this is a reality check. You think that you're going to speak to your mum today, or your dad tomorrow, or your brother, or whomever it may be, and you got next week to maybe convince them and send them. Subhanallah, I've lost the opportunity now. It's gone. With my mum, it's gone. Yeah. There's no faculty. It's completely out of there. And it's amazing how I was having such I mean, when I spoke to my mum, it was the opposite of my dad. When I spoke to my mum, 3-hour conversations on theology, on all sorts of things, philosophies and everything. And now, gone. That whole opportunity. So, this was devastating, to be honest with you. The fact that 1 minute you speak to somebody rationalizing, the next thing out of that.
You know, it is for me, Hamza, is and this, I'm not saying I'm right here, but I wouldn't say I live in comfort, but we know that if people are not receiving the message of Islam, then they're not necessarily accountable. So if you receive the message of Islam and you reject it, you know, we know that that's when you are, from my understanding, that's when you're I'm not gonna say you're in trouble, but so the risk for me, giving my family member the message of Islam clearly and coherently, and then they don't take it, almost to me feels like me putting them in a tougher position than I'm not saying this is the right way, but I'm just giving you a revert's perspective. I almost live in the comfort that maybe my mum hasn't been given the message that maybe she won't be judging that way. And like I say, I'm not saying that's the right way to look at it, but that's just from my. But the reality is, you are the message.
Yep.
You are the message.
Yep.
So do you take the punishment for not relaying the message because you think in that comfort?
You're taking that chance, aren't you? You're taking that chance.
Yeah.
Look, at the end of the day,
hello.
I understand where you're coming from, Jordan.
Allah could say to your mum, you had a mouth, you had ears, you could have spoke to him, you could have picked up the phone, you knew he was a Muslim, and you know.
Yeah.
Because I'll give you an opposite example. My grandfather grew up in Manchester, council estate, no one came to him and talked about Islam. The only Islam he would have heard was probably about the Iranian terrorists or whatever it was that happened, and all this kind of stuff. Now, so he was never in a position to have a flat view of Islam, an option to look at it and consider it and such. Because I'm not having a dig at you here, Jordan, but your mum, she knows you're Jordan, you're Superboy, you're Golden Wonder Boy, yeah. And if you've accepted Islam, you're not a stupid guy. Maybe this, you know what I mean? Which slight caveat difference.
Yeah, inshallah.
But it's hard speaking to your parents, like I said, because
it is.
Tell me what to do.
It is, yeah. You have to gradually, like, I'm learning that I have to gradually get to them, like, because at first, when I first did my Shahada and I was like really passionate about it, I tried to come at them like real hard. But then I learned like that's no way to get to them. I think I've seen a video of you, Hamza, on EF Dawa. You were talking about this, that you can't go like so hard. You gotta gradually, as time comes, they'll like open up more. Maybe they won't, maybe they will. But as time goes, I know that my dad is opening more up to me and him talking about the Bible. I can't bring up Islam because then that's the conversation's over. But if it's just about the Bible, I could talk about it. My mom, she's getting to that point where she gradually wants to hear me out and watch the videos and all that.
Alhamdulillah.
So
I'm still at the Islamophobic stage with my father. I have to keep warning him and say, listen, if you keep talking this way about Islam, your granddaughters are not going to want to know you.
Yeah.
So be careful, because they're here, they're listening. Keeps making little jokes about halal and this and that. So I'm still at that stage. So forget giving him now. I've got to rein myself in, because I just want to rinse him. I want to rinse everything. I want to, he believes in angels and this and that and this healing spirits and stuff and all sorts of nonsense. And I want to rip it apart. I hold myself back. I just want to destroy. So because I always say to him, as he starts attacking Islam, I say, listen, do you want me to start talking about dead angels and whatever? So please relax. We don't need to go. So I'm still at that stage, and that's after 3 years. But we're still amicable. And we meet together. We take the kids. We go to like a theme park for a couple of days. But I'm still at that stage. I can't even present Islam. I'm still fighting the Islamophobia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm holding back, thinking, I could just rinse everything. But I have to have patience.
May Allah make it easy. So do you think? Obviously, if we wrap up there, Hamza, I think we probably should do a little introduction to the stream coming up on Sunday with Ijaz.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow? Oh, I'm losing the days. So tomorrow.
I can't wait for that.
So we're putting a challenge out, aren't we? Where you and Ijaz are putting a challenge out.
Yeah. So what happened? We did the crucifixion. Get your dad to watch, okay, Abdullah. All right. We did a stream the other day about crucifixion, and what we did we challenged the narrative of the historicity of the crucifixion. Did the non-Christian sources support it? Did the Christian sources within the New Testament support it? And all of these things.
Right.
And we issued a challenge on the day to any Christians watching in the comments to come on and challenge what we've said, refute what we've said.
Yeah.
And it's like I said to the boys, I said, look, relax with the Christians right now. They're traumatized. Right? They've heard things today that have rocked their world if they're true.
Right.
Right now, they're scrabbling around, they're Googling, they're WhatsApping, they're pulling out YouTube videos to try and find responses to what we said. And the time that we were on the stream wasn't enough time for them to get their questions and answers and refutations and such.
Right.
So what we said we'll do crucifixion, the crucifixion or crucifixion part 2. And in this one, we're going to give them the opportunity, because they've had 2-3 days now to digest it, reflect, speak to their pastors, go to their priests, go to their David Woods, their Sham Shamons, or whatever their James White, whoever they like. Yeah. They've had the opportunity now to grill, to fine tooth comb through our video all the claims me and Ijaz made, and we're giving them the opportunity to come on the stream on video and challenge what we've said. Anything what we said, refute it.
Yeah, I know. I shared that video to a couple pastors I know.
Let's see. So we've given the opportunity. So tomorrow, inshallah, I think 9 p.m., isn't it, Jordan?
Yeah, 9 p.m. we said it to. Yeah. After iftar.
So 9 p.m. Yeah, after iftar, mashallah. So we're going to invite them on, challenge what we said. And if you can't challenge what we said, then work out what the ramifications of what we said are. Because you're believing in something that has no historical basis. That's the so. And now I've looked at the YouTube video, and I've looked at the comment section, and I'm seeing these comments, and I'm thinking, oh my, have these people watched the video, or are they just commenting without watching the video?
Yeah, that's usually what they do. They block everything else out and just try to, give
Yeah,
their opinions out there.
Things that we responded to. So anyway,
because they're so angry that they don't want to listen. They just want to type.
I don't know what it is they're doing. So if we don't get any Christians brave enough to come on the stream to refute what we've said, then we'll be taking them comments and we'll be dealing with those comments. Because they might not be brave enough to say it on screen. They might just want to put it in the comment section and leave it that. But we're not going to allow that.
Right.
Because if they think there's a counter refutation to what we've said, then we're going to present it, inshallah. So the beautiful thing is, you see, after tomorrow's stream, there should be no resistance to the idea of that the idea of a crucifixion of Jesus is historical.
Right.
And when it's not historical, you have to ask the next question: why do you believe it?
Yep.
And that's that. So that's what's going to happen tomorrow, inshallah. So share it, all your Christian friends, or any Christians watching, your pastors.
Open challenge.
Anybody.
All we ask you do, though, is you watch the video and challenge any of the points we make within that video. Don't start coming bringing us, Paul said this and that. We're not bothered about that right now. Yeah. We, first of all, want to underline everything we said on that video. So what Ijaz said and what I said with regards to crucifixion. And inshallah, it's going to be glorious.
Inshallah.
We unfortunately we sort of had a special guest coming on, but we will do that another time. I think it's been a great stream anyway. We'll get her on another time, and stay tuned. Pleasure to meet you, Abdullah. Finally, I know you're in our group anyway.
Yeah, it's nice to put a voice to the
to the pictures.
To the typing, yeah. Martin, always a pleasure. And Isa and Ben dropped off, but they say salams too. So,
Abdullah, you've got to put more voice notes in the group as well. I love your accent.
All right, thank you.
All right. So see you guys tomorrow, 9 p.m.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
It's probably about 9:20, but anyway, assalamu alaikum.
Muslim timing.
Well, I'll be in the morning.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody around the world.
Assalamu alaikum.